Well, this is why you don't lay down product or seed before soil temperatures are ready. It's the middle of April, and it's snowing. Welcome to West Michigan. Hey, what's up, my lawn care friends and fanatics? My name is Brandon Tates. Welcome to another episode of Lawn and Order, and today we are talking about the 2019 lawn care plan. So I had a few of you say when I had asked when I was getting ready to launch this channel what you guys might be interested in me sharing, and some of the comments I got confirmed what I was already thinking about recording for this year, which was just kind of a basic overview of what you should do or consider doing in your lawn for this year or any year for that matter. Sorry, this is a little bit later in the season. Season. Today is April 14th, and as you saw from the intro, we ended up getting probably about 2 inches of sleet and snow today, so yay! So anyways, I figured this was as good a time as any because the weather sort of puts a pause to us being out in the lawn anyways, so and hopefully just because the weather's been up and down the last few weeks, you haven't fully gotten started in your lawn. But if you have gotten started in your lawn, a couple things to consider. Probably in a couple days it's all going to be melted. I'm not so worried about the ground being thawed out enough. We should be pretty good because we were already getting some warmer temperatures, so it will be a little bit colder after everything melts, but I'm not worried about there being like it freezing the soil. But a couple things to think about: if you did put some seed down already, you probably want to just put some more down just in case any of it washed away. If you did happen to put down a product that has a pre-emergent on it, say like a Scott's Weed and Feed or something similar, depending on what store you went to, that might carry their own brand. I would not recommend putting down any more, and I would just encourage you to just sit and wait and just see what happens with a product that has a pre-emergent, such as like a prodiamine or dithiopyr, or Scott's uses their own kind of pre-emergent chemical in theirs. I can't remember the name of it offhand, but if it says, if it's kind of your first step in their process, or like the Weed and Feed with the Halt's crabgrass preventer or killer, then that's a sign that it has that pre-emergent in it. And so you don't want to put any more of it down at the risk of burning your lawn, because it will burn your lawn. So just wait and see what comes up, and either you can try and manage it in your second application, or I'd encourage you to go get a product like the Ortho's Weed B Gon and just spot spray those weeds as they come, just so you don't risk destroying your lawn at the beginning of the year. All right, now on to our lawn care plan for this year. So the first step is our spring cleanup. So if you haven't already seen the video that I just posted this past week, make sure that you go up and check that out on my channel, and that will just kind of give you a more detailed look into what I did in my own lawn. But just kind of a quick overview for that time. This is probably going to be between mid-March to early April, or even mid-April if you haven't gotten to it yet, before everything's thawed out and ready to go. What you want to do in this process is go through your flower beds. You want to clean up any perennial plants or ornamental grasses, that have died out, and just get that all ready for the new budding to take place, or new life, new growth. I'm already seeing some stuff out in my lawn, and so just eager for everything to continue to keep growing in there. The next thing you want to do is just do a light raking. So this is not to dig into the soil or anything. This is just to help lift the grass and allow some airflow and allow the grass to stand up so it can receive more sunlight and be able to get growing and green up faster at the beginning of this year. Cool. So the last part of this step is then to wait. So as you can tell, for us living in West Michigan, there always seems to be, or at least the last couple of years, I'm pretty sure last year and now this year, there has been kind of a late snow, which is very annoying because I'm just like you. Once I start feeling the warmer temperatures, I start to get eager. Once I have the product in hand, I just want to put it down and get things going, but you don't want to waste the product. So just wait, pay attention to your weather channel or provider or whatnot, and just pay attention to what the daily temperatures are, morning and nighttime temperatures, before you get going. So we want to wait till things start to consistently get to be above 45 degrees, and that's at nighttime, 45 degrees at night consistently, to be able to start kind of the next step in the process. All right, so now step 2 in our process is probably going to be around mid-April. I was going to say possibly this week, but because of snow today, it's going to push us back a few more days. So for myself, I probably won't be able to get out into the lawn again until next weekend. So I'm going to say, just for a date's sake, this isn't like a set in stone every single year. This is going to be the date. That's why it's so important to pay attention to the weather patterns, be using a thermometer to measure the soil. That's why these things are important, just to help you gauge when the best time in your environment, your climate is. So for us, I'm going to say the week of April 20th is probably going to be the day that we're able to do this next step in the process, which what I recommend is to put down some starter fertilizer. And so the general misconception is that starter fertilizer is only to be used, or is only good when you do when you newly seed your lawn, and that's not the case. So it's just a general term that means it has all three of the main, I believe it's the macronutrients that your lawn needs to stay healthy. And so what you see on the bag is 3 numbers generally, which represent the N, which is the nitrogen, the P, which is the phosphorus, and the K, which is the potassium. And so all 3 of these things are important to your lawn. And so let me just do kind of a quick overview. The N is for nitrogen, which focuses on the top growth, which causes the main growth and health of your lawn. The second thing, the phosphorus, that's going to focus on the root growth. And so that's why it's good when you overseed a lawn, because you want to just encourage those roots to strengthen and grow deeper. And that third thing, which is the potassium or the potash, that focuses on just the overall strength, the health of the plant, the hardiness of the plant. So that's what will help fight, give it a better drought tolerance in the summer months, and then it will also be able to fight off disease and other issues, fungus and whatnot, that might try and creep up in your lawn. So I recommend a product that has all 3 things. This year I'm going to use Lesco starter fertilizer, which I got from my local SiteOne, and I'll do a video in the future to where I demonstrate all that and kind of break down some of those numbers so you could see what we're actually putting on the lawn. So get something that has all three of those numbers. The other option that you have in this time, and this is when your temperatures are at 45 degrees consistently at night, and it's kind of on the peak where it's going to get warmer and warmer, you have the option to seed. And so I have heard people say, if your lawn is 30% has good turf and you've been happy with those parts, 30% of your lawn, then you should be good. If your lawn is like ours or like mine, which is cool season and has mostly perennial rye and Kentucky bluegrass, then you should be good. You might just need to be patient. And so with Kentucky bluegrass, it actually spreads through rhizomes. And so what that is, it's almost kind of like a root that grows, almost like an ivy type of thing that kind of grows just underneath the soil surface, and it creates new growth, or new sprouts will come up from that. And so so even if you have like a fist size, spot in your lawn, or maybe even a little bit bigger than that, you might want to choose to just leave it and see what happens, or just watch kind of that fill in by the Kentucky bluegrass this year. What might be some of the reasons that you would choose to seed? And so generally I would say is if you have larger spots. So for me this year, I am planning on top dressing the lawn and trying to fill in some spots that are a little bit lower. So just I'm going to try and work on leveling the lawn a little bit. And so there are going to be spots that are deeper, need more dirt in that area, which is going to suffocate any existing grass. And so I'm going to want to put down some seed in those areas just to fill in those, so I don't have these large empty spots in my lawn this year. So if you do choose that you are going to seed this year, a couple things to consider for the future. And we'll talk about that in our next step. All right, so the next step in this process, it's going to be about 2 weeks later from when you do your initial starter fertilizer or your first fertilizing, whether it be starter fertilizer or something like Milorganite, just to get things growing, get things kind of jump started a little bit. And this is where you're going to do your first mow. So for us, if we're looking at that week of April 20th is the week that we lay down our fertilizer. This is probably going to be about May 4th, 2 weeks later, or the week of May 4th. So we're going to do our initial mowing. And so you just want to make sure that you've sharpened your blades, you've got fresh blades on, because that's going to give you the best, it's going to be better for the health of the plant, and we can go into that in another conversation. But for our first cut, we're actually going to keep it fairly low. So this is going to be between 2 to 2.5 inches. And so this is just to get everything, a nice even cut as things are, new growth has started. This is going to remove any, say dormant grass that might be on the top, any kind of browning that is on the top of the grass blade. So this is just to get everything nice and fresh and clean, ready to go for the rest of the season. So also when it comes to mowing, again, I just want to reiterate that it's good to keep your grass blade sharpened. So probably every, maybe every other month you want to just pull them off and resharpen them, or you can take them to your local mower supply company. And so also when talking about keeping your blade sharp, you can buy your own sharpening kit where you're able to use a drill to keep the blade sharpened. But yeah, it's so important to do that for the health of the plant, because you don't want to be ripping or tearing the grass blades. You want there to be just a clean cut, and that will keep your grass far away from any disease or fungus that might try and sneak in and ruin your vegetation. At this point, I'm going to encourage you to mow at least once a week, if not twice a week. So the more you mow, the better it will grow, or the healthier it will grow, as my friend Ellen Hay in the Lawn Care Nut says. With mowing, you want to make sure that you follow the 1/3 rule. So you never want to remove a third of the grass blade. So that's sometimes people's issues on why they don't have a healthy lawn, is because they're waiting too long because they don't like mowing or whatever, or life just gets busy or whatnot, and so they wait too long and they end up cutting, say there's a larger growth, and then they end up cutting half of the blade to give them that 2.5 or that 3-inch. That's actually really bad for the grass. It creates a lot more stress than what it would like, and so you want to make sure, if you do accidentally let it go a little bit longer, then just lift your mower deck a little higher and just take off a third, and then maybe a day or two later you would come back and then just cut it down again, hopefully to the length that you would like your grass to be. Oh, and before I forget, the last thing that I want to say about mowing is that at this time you actually want to be mulching your clippings, because from the initial starter fertilizer, or even if you used a Milorganite or just any fertilizer, your grass actually has nitrogen now within the plant. And so when we mulch those clippings, it gets put back into the soil and can be reused by the plant again in the future. So, little tip for you. All right, and at this point too, we don't want to be spraying weeds yet. I know you're eager to get out there and start trying to manage them. If you are planning on doing like a post-emergent, like just spot treating weeds, you don't want to do that quite yet, because you want to wait till the temperatures at night are warmer, or else the active ingredients won't work as well in cooler temperatures. So for your weed preventative to work, ideally you want to have your nighttime temperatures to be above 40 degrees. All right, then our next step in the process, this is going to be a week later from that initial mowing. And so this is probably going to be the week of May 11th. So we want to do, again, just an initial mowing. Make sure that you mulch those clippings again, just to put the nitrogen back into the soil so that the grass can reuse that. And then the next step in our process, this is where hopefully, ideally, we're able to put down our pre-emergence. So usually before the crabgrass will germinate, it needs, I believe it's 5 consistent days of the soil temps being at 55 degrees for it to germinate and become active in the soil. So we want to make sure that we use a pre-emergent to be able to create a barrier on top of the soil to block that crabgrass from coming up. The two main products that you will see as active pre-emergents are prodiamine, and then the other name that you'll see is dithiopyr. And if you use Scott stuff, they actually end up using something else. I think it's like mesotriene or whatever it is. Also, during this step, you want to do another application of fertilizer. So now this is where at this time I recommend you using an organic fertilizer. So a couple options that are out there are Milorganite, which are pretty accessible. Last year there was a shortage, but I believe the company has upped production and whatnot, and so it's more readily accessible, at least at the beginning of the year so far. And but if that's hard to find, you can order it online. The other product that I've seen people use, I've used it in my old lawn as well, is a product called Ringer Lawn Restore. So this is another organic material. It has some different options where I believe the Milorganite offers the nitrogen and the phosphorus. The Lawn Restore offers the nitrogen and the potash. So that's something to consider depending on what the different needs are in your lawn. And if you've done a soil test this year, like I have, and I'm waiting for my results to come back, that will give me a good idea on what my lawn is missing and what I need to consider adding to it this year. And so that may determine what I end up putting down for that application. But why I recommend organics and why I use organics is because it actually adds good organic material into your soil. Now, when you use a product like even the Lesco starter fertilizer, or a product like Scott's Weed and Feed or the Turf Builder or whatnot, that's all synthetic fertilizer. So what happens is it releases the nutrients into the soil, and that's it. You're not adding to the organic material that's in the soil. So all it is just adding those nutrients, and that's it. We're not adding to the structure of or the content of the soil. So that's why I would choose using a product like Milorganite or Lawn Restore pretty frequently in my lawn plan to just build better soil content. At this point too, something that we'd probably want to do is spot treat any weeds that have already emerged. So this would kind of be our post-emergent application. And for myself, I choose not to do a bunch of blanket sprays if I could avoid it. So that's just putting the chemical on the entire lawn. But for something like a post-emergent, I prefer to use like Ortho's Weed B Gone, and I buy the concentrate and I mix it in a little hand can or tank mixer, that like a little pump sprayer, and then I just go through and I spray the weeds. You kind of walk a grid throughout your lawn. I'll show a video on how to do that in the future, but you end up walking a grid and you spray the weeds as you see them, and that way you're not adding any unnecessary chemicals to your entire lawn when it doesn't need it. Okay, now back to if you did decide to seed this year, this is where the pre-emergent thing gets a little bit tricky. So if you did decide to seed a couple weeks prior to this application, do not use a product like Prodiamine or Dithiopyr or even the Scott's Weed and Feed, because what that does, it creates a barrier. So if your grass hasn't quite germinated yet, or it's a fairly new root, it will burn out that plant and you've just wasted that product. So what I do recommend, and I have it here somewhere, oh here it is a product called Tenacity. So with Tenacity, this is both a pre and a post emergent. So meaning I could use this to block, say, like crabgrass or any new weeds from popping up. I believe this takes care of like 60 different weeds, both pre and post emergent, or before and after the plant has come up. And so this also, as when it's sprayed onto the leafy surface of a weed that already has emerged, will help take care of it. So this is one of only a couple different type of products or different chemical that can be used if you are planning on overseeding. I have seen a lot of videos on people using this product Tenacity with great success, and people swear by it. And so I bought some of my own to try out this year in my lawn for the first time. So be watching out for a video on this in the future. Okay, so this step is going to be a quick one. It's just going to be 3 weeks from our last application, which would have been on the week of May 11th. If you did spot treat some of your weeds, this is a great opportunity to go back through and just reapply that treatment, whether it be Weed B Gone, or I know Bayer Advanced has their own type of Weed B Gone product. So that's going to have the chemical called 2,4-D in it. which is what you want to spray on the leaf surface to kill any emerged weeds in the lawn. And also at this time, since we are starting to get in some of those warmer months, this is probably where we want to put down our grub preventative. So if you do have a lush lawn and you do plan on irrigating it through the summer because you like to keep that lush lawn and don't allow your lawn to go into dormancy or summer dormancy, this is where you want to put down a grub preventative. So it's going to be within the first couple of weeks of June. So I did see, as I was doing some other projects in my lawn, I am seeing some grubs there. So I definitely will be putting down a grub preventative this year, especially for the first real season of my lawn's existence. Okay, so next in our lawn care schedule, this is going to be about 6 weeks from the last application that we did of either that Milorganite or the Lawn Restorer. We're going to do our next application of fertilizer. So this is going to be anywhere, so if we're 6 weeks from the last application, this is going to be about June 22nd, or I've even seen people that will wait till July 4th because usually most people have that day off. Since they know that's kind of the day that they have off, they end up using it to just go out and be out in the lawn in the morning before all the fireworks and grilling and all those festivities happen. So it's going to be between anywhere from June 22nd to July 4th. You would want to put down another application of Milorganite. Why I might recommend Milorganite is because it has iron. And so iron actually is what gives Kentucky bluegrass that kind of deep, almost bluish tint to the grass, which makes it just stand out even more so to your jealous neighbors that are looking in at how lush and great your lawn is already looking by this time in the year. Also at this time, if you did put down some grass seed, whether you were filling in some empty spots or you decided to do an overseeding in the spring, this would be a great time to also put down some starter fertilizer. You'd want to put this down at 3 pounds per 1,000 if you're using like the Lesco, and that's going to be added with the 5 pounds per 1,000 that you would put down with the Milorganite, which I believe is the bag rate. If not, I'll put that information at the bottom of the screen. Cool, so that last application, which is that June 22nd to July 4th, that's going to be our last application to take us through the summer. And if you plan on irrigating this, you just want to consistently irrigate, a ½ inch, 2 to 3 times a week. Generally, your lawn needs about an inch to an inch and a half to stay healthy, and so that's during a 7-day period. I've used an app, I believe it's free, it's from Scott's, and it actually keeps track in your area of the rainfall within the last 7 days. So the Scott's Lawn app is a great app just to kind of be aware of how much, in the last 7 days we only received an inch. So I still need a ½ inch, so I'm going to turn on the irrigation system and let it run until I get a ½ inch of water. Okay, so then our last 2 applications, so this is going to be coming into the fall. This is going to be around that September 8th to 14th kind of range around there. This is where you're going to aerate and overseed. So aerate, you can go and rent an aerator from kind of most of your local rental companies that rent, say, heavy duty equipment and whatnot. They'll most likely have an aerator that you can rent. Or I do know Menards also allows you to rent an aerator, as well as Home Depot will allow you to rent or has a rental place. So you want to rent an aerator which pulls out plugs of soil, and so this is going to help just kind of break up any compaction that there might be in the soil. It's going to actually, when you pull out these plugs, there are microorganisms that come up and they begin to feast on the thatch layer. So if you have dealt with thatch in the past, aeration's a great thing to do, even in the spring, just to get some of that thatch down if you have had a thatch problem in your lawn. So you'll want to aerate, and then this is where you'll overseed as well. At this time, when you overseed, you're going to want to do another application of starter fertilizer. So same thing, we're just trying to encourage this new growth and these new seeds to germinate and grow a solid root and solid foundation from its birth or conception, so to speak. Then this will take us to our final application if you choose to do so. You could completely just stop at the aerating and overseed step, but if you have seen any videos from the kind of DIY lawn care community, there is a guy that I have followed for a lot of years. His name is Alan Hain, and he is known as the Lawn Care Nut. So his channel is called the Lawn Care Nut. For the last few years, he's been on this kick of showing your lawn dominance, and your last kind of opportunity to show this when your neighbors are going to be out is on Halloween, because a lot of times your neighbors are out, they're walking their kids around, and so you want to show them that they've been dominated by your incredible lawn and your incredible lawn plan that you did yourself. And so this last application, which is going to be your Halloween domination application, this is going to roughly be about October 15th, and this is, you're going to put another application of Milorganite, and again, which has that iron, which is going to give it that deep bluish green color to your lawn. It's going to show your other neighbors that you mean business, and they need to up their game. So when you do this on October 15th, that's going to make sure that you get enough time, because Milorganite actually needs hot temperatures to break down. So this is going to make sure that you get enough time for the Milorganite to break down in the soil as the cool temperatures are coming, to break down in the soil. So that way that iron and the nitrogen and everything is going to be accessible to the grass. Okay, so if you follow me on any of my social media accounts, or even saw the just kind of photo from my first initial videos of the introduction videos that I made, you'll see this beautiful photo of my lawn. And this was actually taken last year in the first season of my lawn. I was in the process, I did the whole lawn Halloween domination step. We actually we invited our entire neighbors over for hot dogs and hot cocoa and whatnot. And so it was kind of a fun way to just kind of show off our lawn that had only been established for a few months at that time. And we were getting neighbors that were asking, what did you do? Like, what did you do? I need to take some notes of what you did. And so after that night, I was in the process of trying to bring my lawn from like a 4.5 inch cut down to about 2.5 to 2 inches. And there ended up being a snow in the midst of me kind of walking the grass down, so I didn't cause a bunch of stress to it right away. And so we did have a snow. It all ended up thawing, and we had a couple more beautiful days out. And I did end up doing one last cut, and this was in September. And I'll just put up that same photo. So this was my house. This was in September, and the last mowing that I did before the snow came and winter came. All right, so there we are. I know this was a ton of information, And this has kind of been over years that I've been doing this, also just from other guys, like I mentioned, Alan Hain, the Lawn Care Nut. These are things that I've learned from him over the years, and some other guys, different tips that and things that I've picked up over the years. And that's really what I'm sharing, is just from my experiences, what I've done in my previous lawn, as well as my current lawn. Here's kind of some of the basic plans that I will be following for this year. And I'm just giving you all the tips, and these are the things I'm going to be recording throughout the year, among maybe some other things that will probably come up in my lawn this year. And so, man, I hope you enjoyed this. I know it's a lot of content. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a Google document that's going to have all these steps in place that I'm sharing with you right now. I already have most of it typed up, so I'm just going to tidy it up. And then I'm going to add the link in the description to be able to download this yearly plan for free. That way you have it for your use and for your lawn. And I'll also put down kind of some different things at how much fertilizer you should put down for each of those applications. Generally, for the most part, you want to follow the bag recommended rate. There are different periods of time. Say that Milorganite application prior to that July 4th week, where rather than doing 5 pounds per thousand, you might want to do more of like a 3 pounds per thousand, just so we still get that iron intake, but we're not pushing all this top growth from that nitrogen that is in the Milorganite. So anyways, I hope this video has been helpful. And again, I know it's a ton of information, but you asked for it, and so I am trying to provide it to you the best way I know how. So feel free to, go back, hit pause. You could jot your own notes down if you want, or just grab, replay this video, grab a notebook, and just start writing down. Hope this has been helpful. If you haven't already liked this video, subscribe to my channel. Also follow me on any of my social media outlets. I'll put all that information in the description. And until next time, I hope you take care. Just be patient as we're waiting for things to thaw out and get ready to get in the lawn. So it's coming in the next couple of weeks, I promise. So we'll see you next time. Or I'll see you next time. I don't know who Will is, but I'll see you next time. Take care.